My name is Aoiri Obaigbo. I'm the author of The Wretched Billionaire. Chapter 2. The rustic youth lay on the road and pressed his ear against the cold road. He could not believe the vibrations. There were thousands of shoes pounding the ground from his estimation. The songs were yet indistinguishable, but they were certainly not witches or wizards. They were the notorious fraternity boys he had often heard about. A combination of adventurous students from various campuses might be a very fickle chemical. These voices were echoes from deep barrels of alcohol. These thoughts created flutters in his guts. Go back to the river, he advised himself. What if a crocodile shows up for supper? But I have not seen crocodiles there in 3 years of going out there. Neither have I seen anyone out here before now. Better find a place to wait for dawn or the end of this weird party. What if I end up inside a python or get embraced by boa? Snakes are just as hostile as cultists. What do I do? But then remembered that snakes escape from human sounds. The space nearest to their noise would be safer. Snakes will certainly feel 1,000 feet pounding the earth. But started walking faster towards the debacle. It was not long after before the songs were distinct. As I was going to the school one day, sang the lead singer, to which a rowdy multitude responded. I saw some people gathered round. When I asked them what they were doing, the thunderous chorus that said the Axemen were having a jolly day. Axemen! Ibadan felt his palms go clammy. They were the most dreaded brotherhood in the university. Some said they fought against evil. Some said they were evil, but I was not interested in the facts. In any case, they were proscribed by the school authorities, and this wild party was in glaring defiance. Watching those billows of flame from afar was frightful, but when they ascended again so close, the flusters in his guts found a way out before he could scramble out of his trousers. He barely escaped a major scandal with a trickle in his brief. Ibadan secured a spot along the pebbly shoulders of the road and was lucky that no axeman was within earshot, because what ensued was the noisiest way ever to spell relief. As cold as the night had become, beads of sweat gathered on his brow and raced all the way down. While he was held imprisoned in that humble squat, the clouds which had oppressed the moon all night swiftly slipped away. It was always a pleasure to see the curved shape of the young moon. But one could now see the silhouette of the surrounding trees and shrubs. He had just restored a measure of his usual priestly composure when the faint scent of marijuana drifted to his nostrils. With that faint whiff also came that tender recollection of Faith, whose whereabouts he was worried about. Raised in a remote village, the smell of marijuana was unknown until he was admitted into this university. It was first identified by Faith. She also informed him that the drug was responsible for most of the students in the mental ward, but he could never understand why anyone would willfully toy with madness. The smell was getting stronger. Trouble was heading his way. Preparing for a place to hide, he noticed a form that loomed darker than its surroundings. That had to be the abandoned concrete mixer truck. Ibadan dashed forward, climbed quickly to the dusty top, lay still and silent, and hoped for the best. Soon after, he saw 4 white arms floating towards him, but for the fact that 2 of the arms kept traveling to the lips for their toxic high, he could have freaked out because he could not see the rest of the guys until they were a few steps away. One of them was very tall. He was over 6 feet, with the signature gait of one of the campus stars. Ibadan could recognize that self-important swagger anywhere, anytime. He had always carried his chest like a prideful luggage and walked as if his hands needed to be reconciled with the rest of his upper body. While the white sleeves were reflecting the newly liberated moon, the black vest and pants absorbed the scant light. Ibadan felt another wave of nervous energy flutter in his belly as the twosome stopped right in front of the truck. "Aye, Axeman," that voice was familiar. "Aye, my lord," replied Mr. Fool of himself. What is that name of his? Ibadan lived through his mind. Deal Master Movie. That's it. He should have graduated by now. What was he doing here? Aye, Menelik, strong man. Is that not the voice of that rebel razor that sweet-talked students into the last mass protest that resulted in the death of a student? Lord Uhurame, aye, replied Movie. Marijuana is at work already, Badon said to himself, taking great care to be still and silent. Why are these clowns calling themselves historical names and greeting themselves as if they just met? My strong man, this country is ripe for a student government, believe. How laughable. He's hatching another disaster. Where there is a will, there is a way, replied Movie. Badon felt sorry for their parents, who have spent so much on their education, only to have hemp deny them the fruits of their labor. That voice was certainly that of Diffa Johnson, the May riot commander. Guns, that's all it takes to rule this country. How was the First Republic sacked? Diffa asked. Guns, of course, replied Movie. How did the other generals grab power? Guns, milady. Power flows from the barrel of a gun. By guns, they stole power. This ongoing structural adjustment program has been undermined by cabal, by economic manipulation. They are bent on wiping out the middle class and suffocating the peasant class. The wealth of the land is dwindling fast, but the wealth in the hands of a few have multiplied dramatically at the expense of the rest of us. If we sit on the fence and watch the scramble for oil wells, government contracts and black market control, the rise of King Kong will be inevitable. The rise of King Kong will be unstoppable. The rest of us will become perpetual worshippers, surrendering everything dear to us to appease King Kong and its cult of power brokers and lackeys. We students are the middle class in the wings. We used to graduate and queue up as professionals, then managers and directors. We make up the middle class. The death of the middle ground will undermine the whole idea of getting educated. Graduates will either become slaves in jackets for these emerging gods or be indistinguishable from the peasant class. Movement from one class to another through scholarship, industry, and merit will get closer to impossibility from generation to generation. When favors from the cabal become the only yardstick for advancement, we the students will be the first victims. It's therefore our burden to thwart the seeds of this obnoxious design before it becomes an unstoppable monster. There are less than 100,000 soldiers. The students in this country outnumber the soldiers. Logically, if all the students are armed, we can overrun the army and take over the destiny of our people. We are the future. We are the ones whose dreams of a succulent life is being mismanaged by these vagabonds in power. Are we going to watch while they mount roadblocks to our aspirations? No, Melody. We have a network and we have a stake. All we need are guns and a good strategy. I want to start by kidnapping their children and amassing guns with their ransoms. I have a plan to make them finance their own downfall. I'm with you all the way. I have made contact with other confraternities. We blended well in the youth service camp. We agreed that all the crap on campus amongst us only served the greed of those blockheads in power. Under the umbrella of National Association of Nigerian Students, militarized by our confraternities, pirates, buccaneers, airlords, Vikings, Malphites, clansmen, all the stakeholders, we can unite to rescue the dream of our great country and our collective destiny from the cabals who have no higher ambition than to sustain their sterile hold on power. We need to bury our differences for the good of all youths in this country. And I have taken it upon myself to provide the guns. We must strike the iron while it is hot. When the trumpet shall sound, ye Menelik, will you be there? Lord, anytime I hear that trumpet, I will be there. I will be there. The two axemen crossed their axes in greeting. Dodori Mato the Glorious, the time for action is ripe. Clear road, movie yelled. Kurufu on guard. Soon there were four floating arms fading away to join their fellow drunken youths.